else nobody knows, dear. Side to side, baby, back and forth.
Hey boys, I'm Bobby Hayes and I own Ducklander Calls, which is DLC. I started building calls in 2004. And I tell you what, making calls is one of the greatest things in the world. I love having it for a job. My other favorite thing to do is hunt ducks, which is one of the reasons why I like to make calls so much. Those two. Forget them. Like I said, one of the greatest things in the world to me is killing ducks. And I was fortunate enough that I come from a family of a lot of guys that hunt. My dad hunted coons and quail, that was his big thing. He had coon dogs, he'd do tournaments, they get them pelts. I had two uncles that were big duck hunters. They quail hunted, feathers hunted, they hunted about everything at one point, but duck hunting was really their big thing, so that's kind of who I gravitated towards when I was a kid. And we hunted a lot of public ground, which is why I hunt the public ground I do now. I've been hunting since I was a little kid. But they always had a little chunk of private ground somewhere that we'd hunt. And when I was about 17, I ran into another club owner. His name was Mike Jenkins. And Mike told me about a guy he was going up and he was helping him call and he was getting these really nice calls from. And it happened to be a guy by the name of Mike Keller on Big Guy's Best Duck Calls. So when I was 16, 17 years old, I would go with Mike up to Keller's house, which was about, I don't know, maybe an hour for me, 45 minutes. He lived north part of Kansas City, I lived in South Park. And Mike was the first guy that I'd ever been around that actually really knew how to blow a call. My uncles could call, but they just were pretty normal at it now that I've been doing this while I've been around it. They killed ducks with call, but I mean, they weren't real great at it. I mean, they just blew little Falks WA-33s. That was their big call. Easy to blow, raspy, so that was their thing. They didn't really push a lot with notes. They liked to scout. They knew where ducks were at. They've been hunting that same ground since they were kids as well, and they were in their 80s, 70s. So I'd go up to see Mike. We'd sit around his kitchen table, and he would show me how to run a duck call. And he would just, he'd always get tickled when I bring them old Falks duck calls over there. He'd make me put them down and run one of his, but when I was 16, there's no way I could afford a duck call of his. First time I'd ever seen acrylic was at his house. And so Mike, which is a very good caller, very good guy at teaching calling, would sit around a table with me for hours, and he'd sit there and tune calls, and then he would show me how to put pressure in a call, how to put the call to my mouth right, actually how to run a duck call. And he taught tons of guys how to do it. I would never go up and mess with the comp part of it. I just want to know how to kill ducks better, which was my thing with him. So he had a room down in the bottom of his house, a finished basement, and he would have all his inventory laid out down there. And I would ask him tons of questions about how you do this, how you do that, making these calls. Like I said, I was only 16, 17 at the time. And it just, I don't know why, but I got the bug to make a duck call after I went and hung out with that guy. And I did not do that until much later in life, but that is who really got the thought in my head about making these for myself. And still to this day, I mean, we make thousands of calls every year, but still to this day, when I look, if I make a big batch of calls, I got 500 calls, 1,000 calls laid out on the tuning table, it's still crazy to me that I have that many duck calls, even though I'm gonna sell all of them. They're still just cool as can be because you've got that big pile of acrylic or that big pile of hedge or blackwood laid out with all the finished parts and the engraving and all that.